can't go anywhere. My house is moving. We are totally flooded. We've got cabins that are starting to fill up. What do we do?
We have people in water, I guess, floating that are screaming for help, and we can't get to them.
You could see the lights of vehicles getting washed off from upriver, and you can hear honking. You couldn't see anything, but you can hear honking and you can hear the screaming. The cabins next door keep smashing against our trees. You can see the scarring of the trees, and that's where they were hidden. Every single RV and vehicle, it was gone. About half a mile now down the river, there is a wall of about 30 to 40 vehicles all smashed together. My only concern and my husband's was like, get everybody to safety.
When I woke up, the water was already 2 feet into my RV, and I grabbed my dog and my wallet and I tried to get outside, and the water was flooded. The truck had me pinned, so I got out, and then I just hear screaming, families screaming and kids, and I couldn't help. I just couldn't help.
If we've had an alarm system, that alarm system would have gone off and we would have gotten awakened. To me, it was unpredictable and just happened to be the perfect storm.
Everything was gone. 36 years just gone in 3 hours.
I get mad when I think about it because this is selfish of me. But I'm just like, why did you leave me?
I can hear all of a sudden out of the background this call out that says, you know, Daddy help me, you know, Daddy help me.
We had no reason to believe that this was going to be anything like what's happened here. None whatsoever.
We could get storms that develop high rainfall rates and they sit or train over the same area. So notice at 10 to 11 o'clock, we do have some showers and storms in around the I-35 corridor. Notice how they sort of sit, Bandera, Medina County, Kerr, near Bexar County. And this is at 1 in the morning. And then notice there's just no movement here.
You can go back and look at your own forecast, and the amount of rain that fell in this specific location was never in any of those forecasts.
The crux of the forecast is going to be what happens with the remnant low pressure system after it's done moving northwestward along the Rio Grande. It's going to try to make a turn towards the east and northeast thereafter. If this happens, we have a storm system essentially right on top of us with all this tropical fuel in place. Not only are we looking at a few rounds of heavy rain and storms on Thursday, but some of that could linger into Thursday night, Friday morning.
With the rainfall percentages, even the National Weather Service had looked at, and don't quote me on the numbers, but it's anywhere between 1 to 7, 7 inches. We got significantly over that.
We know we get rains. We know the river rises. But nobody saw this coming.
We were well prepared. The Weather Prediction Center with their outlooks and the risk of flash flooding, the excessive rainfall forecast they issue, it was all there. So it's done on a national level from NOAA. And then the Weather Service, which works in close collaboration with them, put that flood watch out early. They were on it. And then the warnings were coming out through the night ahead of the flood.
July 2nd is when it started to look a little more scary, that there could be a lot of moisture for a long period of time that could lead to some significant rainfall. The warnings, the alerts, the emergencies were issued by the book. Could not have done a better job myself if I were at the National Weather Service. They were on top of it from start to finish.
I have some friends with us who have a kid at Camp Mystic.
Okay.
And we have no idea what's going on. Have you heard anything of what's going on at Camp Mystic?
We have not heard anything. We have rescue services going out there, but we don't have any confirmed information right now.
This is a look at rescue crews that are in Kerr County. They are continuing to search for more than 24 girls that are still missing from Camp Mystic.
This is from Camp Mystic. This is being sent to parents right now. If your daughter is not accounted for, you have been notified. If you have not been personally contacted, then your daughter is accounted for. Essentially, no news is good news, at least when it comes to Camp Mystic.
There were 130 plus little girls who were only in elementary school who saved themselves that day.
For nearly 100 years, Camp Mystic was a summer refuge. Young girls from across the country made the trip to Kirk County. The Christian summer camp sits on the banks of the Guadalupe, what was once a dream summer destination in the early morning hours of July 4th became a nightmare.
Hi, we're at Camp Mystic, Guadalupe in Hunt, Texas. 78024.
Is it for the flooding?
Yes.
Okay,
It is rising up, and a lot of the cabins are flooded.
As the Guadalupe swelled between 3 and 4 a.m., the calls to 911 dispatchers came pouring in.
We're missing 20 to 40 people here since the floods. We're out of power, hardly have any cell service.
Nothing stands a chance when water is moving. Nothing. Trees, 100 years old. Buildings, 100 years old. Water doesn't care. It's going to take them down.
Overnight, rushing waters filled the cabins where some of the youngest campers were sleeping.
It was kind of a slow realization of just how bad this could be. It took me a second to realize, wait, summer camp's in session. There's probably a lot of kids there. Wait, it's 4th of July weekend. There's a lot of RVs there.
As the sun rose on July 4th, the tragedy at Camp Mystic became clearer.
We can't say for sure that they're all accounted for. We know that there are some missing. We know where some of them are stranded. In terms of exactly how many are missing, unaccounted for, we're not sure about that.
Rescue teams scoured the river looking for survivors and bringing them to safety. A video from the Texas Military Department shows a truck full of young girls returning to dry ground. But not everyone returned home. 25 campers and 2 counselors lost their lives. The camp's executive director, Dick Eastland, also died while attempting to rescue campers. To this day, 8-year-old SEAL Stewart of Austin has never been found. For parents of the aptly named Heavens 27,
it's a nightmare on a scale beyond comprehension.
The water left behind a shell of what Camp Mystic once was. Mattresses and clothes left behind in terror. Mud covering the walls of what was once a safe place.
Fourth of July weekend is supposed to be about families, fireworks, and celebrations, especially along the banks of the Guadalupe River. Communities coming together to celebrate this great country at the height of summer.
But in July of 2025, what would arrive instead would change everything. Relentless rain triggering one of the deadliest flooding disasters in our state's history. This right here is what's left of a massive RV park. Not much. We know more than 130 people were killed, 3 remain missing and presumed dead. For many in the path of the floodwaters, the dangers didn't come with a clear warning.
These giant scarred cypress trees tell of the chaos of that night. But this story didn't start in July. It started long before the water jumped the banks of the Guadalupe River and the communications breakdown on the weekend of July 4th, 2025. Missed opportunities to prepare may have made a deadly difference.
This is a story about the power of water, but also the power of preparation and communicating critical information and exactly what happens if it fails the people who need it the most.
Because when the water rises again, and we know it will Texas be ready?
We're in the attic and the water's rising very fast.
Okay, we have everybody headed that direction, okay? Unfortunately, there's not much more I can tell you to do in this situation.
We're gonna. She can't hold her breath. If you come and the water.
People always want to talk about how fast is the wind going to be, how low is the pressure going to be. Those things are not the killers, the main killers in tropical systems. The number one killer of any tropical system is inland freshwater flooding.
Building the infrastructure needed to save lives when the water rises has been a statewide project for years. But technologies like flood warning sirens still hadn't made it to places like Kerr County by summer 2025. In 2019, in response to the devastation left behind by Hurricane Harvey, the state legislature tasked the Texas Water Development Board with deploying the Flood Infrastructure Fund after a constitutional amendment passed by voters. In the years since, the TWDB has committed nearly $700 million to 140 projects across the state. It's a mix of grants and loans for flood control, mitigation, and drainage projects, but notably missing from the project list, Kerr County. That's because the county turned down a $50,000 grant and $950,000 loan from the state for a flood warning system, saying the cost would require voter approval on a short deadline. For context, Kerr County approved a $35 million budget in 2024.
We decided that this and other grant processes were unlikely to provide the timely support for what we considered an urgently needed system.
A Texas Tribune and ProPublica investigation found 90 other local governments also turned down funds. William Rector, the president of the Upper Guadalupe River Authority, told lawmakers a separate grant application for a flood warning system in Kerr County was denied by the Texas Department of Emergency Management in 2017 and 2018. The department confirmed Kerr County did apply for the grant, but did not meet the necessary requirements either year. And as recently as last spring in the state legislature, House Bill 13 was debated on the House floor. It would have created the Texas Interoperability Council, charged with improving communication between emergency responders and building a plan that includes the use of outdoor sirens.
I thought it was pretty common sense, seemed pretty basic. I still don't understand what the objection was to it during the regular session.
The bipartisan bill, co-sponsored by Democratic State Representative Joe Moody, died in a Senate committee.
I still have not heard a satisfactory answer as to why that didn't pass during the regular session.
In the days following the flood, Republican State Representative Wes Verdell, whose district includes Kerrville, was pressed on his no vote on House Bill 13.
You were quoted in the Texas Tribune the week that you were here, saying you may have reconsidered your vote on that bill at the time. Is that still true?
I'll give you the scenario on that. I was actually right over here driving down the road. They called and asked if I would do an interview with them. I said, yeah, no problem.
While he said he may reconsider his vote at the time, he's since taken that answer back.
So I called my team and I said, hey, look this bill up, review it, and tell me why we voted against it. And they called me back and they said, hey, you voted against it because it didn't have transparency. It was creating a council to oversee the grants for this, all this kind of stuff. And it is specifically had in there no transparency for the council, which is a really bad idea.
Just 17 other House members joined Verdell in voting no. In 2024, the Texas Water Development Board shared a new state flood plan with an alarming estimate. It found the state needs $54 billion in funding to address its flood infrastructure and has less than $11 billion to cover it. There are still limited answers about if the other $43 billion will ever materialize.
Communities shouldn't have to be choosing between life-saving systems and other things that they have to be paying for out of their local tax dollars.
She's a master decorator in village scenes. That's her thing. She loved doing it.
And this is just like a quarter of what she would typically put out. When you think of Grammy, you think of holiday, you think of like beauty and making things.
You know, try to keep some of her tradition going, you know.
It's, hard to not see her Christmas tree here that she normally put together. I think the holidays with her were probably the best memories that I have.
I'm Bob Basin. My wife is Linda, and my stepdaughter is Dina.
I'm Jody Coker. Linda was my mother, and Dina was my only sister.
I lost my mother. Dina was my mom. and Linda was my grandmother.
They were very close. I mean, they were literally best friends.
I say very best friends.
Camping together always.
Weekends on the water, on the lake, camping, being outside in nature, it was something that we did all the time together.
It's so ironic that that's what took their lives, because that's the thing they love to do. They love to go camping, they love to go fishing, the outdoors.
And we've been there at the campground before, camping. I've been there before. And that's gonna be their big weekend. I was gonna go to Phoenix and they're going camping.
I had taken my kids out back to school shopping, and I got a phone call from a friend of my mom's, and they were saying, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of your mom this morning and she's not answering. Have you talked to them? And I said, no, but I'll call them. And I realized that I had had a voicemail come through my phone, but without a missed call. I knew immediately when I opened that voicemail that things were not okay. At 5:08, she had somehow gotten a call through to me that just said, Heather, we're being washed away. Our cars, our RV, everything's being washed away. We're not gonna make it. I love you.
You can hear my mom in the background yelling, tell Bob I love him. And then you hear them screaming for help. And then the phone dies. You can hear it go underwater in it.
And we drove straight there, and then I didn't come home for a week.
We weren't leaving there until we knew they had been found. We wanted to at least bring their souls home. We were walking along the river, like we would start every morning from their campground, and we would push as far south as they would let us go. We watched them literally digging stuff up out of the river.
About a quarter of a mile down from where their campsite had been, there was, 3 or 4 cars maybe, and then my mom's completely just like wrapped. It was just excruciating, just waiting to hear something, to know something, to find something, to be told something.
On this particular day, when we're walking Courtney down and showing her for the first time, what's going on, there's these 2 redbirds that followed us from as soon as we got down into the campground area. And we walked probably half mile, and at one point Heather looks over and sees something that she thinks is an article of her mom's clothing just tied up in the brush on the side. And so we stopped there, and the redbirds stopped with us. And they started talking to each other as if they were kind of laughing, like, look at these girls, we've got them out here in the outdoors, which they never like to do, and like they were laughing at us.
Like it just felt like them saying, hey, you have found us stuff, and we are here with you. And it was comforting as it can be in that moment, to feel like they were with us.
Right here, we got the news. It was a rough night that night, but I was thankful they found him.
Where my mom was actually found a mile down from the campsite. My sister got washed very far down. There's no closure to this. I know it's funny, you hear people say, well, you've had the funeral, at least you have your closure now. It's hard to reconcile. Why something like this had to happen?
It shouldn't have happened.
The campground should have had procedures, they should have had protocols. They had nothing. They own quite a few different properties throughout the US, and they have protocols in other properties. They should still be here. Again, it crushes me that the thing they love so much is what took them.
I miss them. I miss them every day.
And there's a lot that I wish that I had a chance to say to my mom and my grandma. So take the opportunities while you can.
devastating. It's all gone. Our babies are safe.
It's unbelievable in every definition of the word. That devastation, I haven't seen with my own two eyes what happened in Kerrville. All I have were, our news reports from all over the world, cameras, videos going on down there. I feel like it was that bad or worse in parts of Sandy Creek.
Everything was gone. 36 years just gone. It's the most horrifying 3 hours of my life, actually. I floated 10 feet in my house. I say in the air, but water. Mom and Dad's house sunk 8. Donna's house went down the creek with her in it. It's hard to tell anymore, even though I grew up here, because it's all gone. But yeah, we're in my childhood home. That's where we are.
Around 30 miles northwest of Austin in Travis County, Texas, sits a little community where not much has changed over the years. What's that been like growing up here in Sandy Creek?
Quiet. You don't move this far out into the country to get to know your neighbors. So I found my great-grandparents on the property, my grandparents, obviously my siblings, my Aunt Donna, my mom and dad, myself. I mean, many generations have been here. It's not gotten any bigger. It doesn't have a lot more people in it. It's not that Sandy Creek is stuck in time. It's just it is what it is. It's you move out to the country to live a certain type of lifestyle.
I know.
As tight-knit as it was at home for Ashley Willis, the neighborhood?
Not at all. Again, you don't move this far out into the country to get to know your neighbors. You move this far out to be on your own. And before the flood, perfect example, across the creek is Harry. We've been neighbors for 36 years. We didn't know each other existed because of the literal forest that was between us. We couldn't even see each other.
On the morning of July 5th, that all changed.
The most horrifying 3 hours of my life, actually. I had friends camping here for 4th of July. I had 12 friends that came over, 6 that stayed. They were in tents and in campers, and I woke up to my friends screaming as their tents were floating away with them inside of them. We tried to go around the back of the house to get up to Ron's house, which is up higher, the neighbor, and the water was just rushing down the hill so quickly, it almost sucked me underneath the house. My friend Zach pulled me back up, and then shrapnel, and I don't know what else to call it, just started coming down the hill. We had kind of cars and canoes just ramming into the house. So we went back inside because it was not a safe place to be outside. And we all sat on the pool table and just prayed the water didn't get taller than the ceiling. And I called Mom, and we just said goodbye. I'm sorry. I don't know. I could still cry about this. I just thought for sure I'd be out of tears, but.
But what happened next nearly cost Willis her life.
And I'll never forget the gurgle sound that your house makes when the water's receding. And I didn't tell my friends this at the time because I didn't want to freak them out, but I knew that everyone's like, hey, the water's going down. I'm like, you don't know what's coming next. It's everything coming down the hill. And I'm just praying that whatever runs into the house doesn't knock us off into the water before the water gets low enough that the house can sit.
Another wave of water and debris was on its way, but a neighbor's shed shielded Ashley's home, likely saving their lives.
And thankfully, Ron's shop, he has a metal building. It caught 8 cars. And we would have been gone for sure had that not been there.
When the sun came up, Willis and her family opened the door to their life, buried under the rubble and washed away.
The pool, the brewery, the bar. Mom and Dad's house is effed. This one is no better. Everything's gone. Everything's gone. And then I hear my mom scream, and she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? She's like, Donna's house is gone. And I just look across the creek, and I can't even comprehend what I'm looking at. It's just flat earth. They found her 2 miles down the creek. She jumped out of her house because it was disintegrating around her. And somehow, through all of that shrapnel, cars and trees and houses, she managed to get caught up in a fence. And God, she's so small. I don't even know. It makes no sense to me. I mean, I've seen what it did to cars and houses, and like just her tiny little body, you know, made it. The rest of it's just stuff.
Sounds like a miracle.
Oh, there's not another word for it.
10 people died in the Sandy Creek floods.
By the time the alert went off on my phone that said flash flood emergency, my response was, oh, thanks, because 20 minutes later my house was flooding. The road was already gone.
We reached out to Travis County Judge Andy Brown's office 7 times for an interview to ask him about the warning signs during the floods that some people like Willis and her family say they didn't receive until it was too late.
There was already 4 feet of water in the front yard. My friends were already floating. And then I got the alert. I'm like, cool, thanks. Appreciate that.
We even showed up to his office to ask for an interview, but he was unavailable. We never heard back.
I don't have nightmares, which is great.
Did you?
No, I love my therapist, Brenda. Very well therapized. I didn't sleep for like the first 7 weeks. It's hard to dream or have nightmares when you're not really sleeping, you know?
Willis and her family lost 3 houses, their swimming pool, the barn, her spice business, and countless memories.
That's 3 houses, doesn't it look like it?
She showed us around her family's 7-acre property and what's left of it.
And then we use this as a workshop area. But now it is our makeshift kitchen and laundry room. We have like a stove and a fancy fridge. Look at our island.
Look at this, the countertop.
We pulled this out of the earth. I don't know where it came from.
This piece of land is where her childhood home was and where her parents still lived.
Living room and then my bedroom, Dad's office.
Now, a flat piece of dry earth.
This is the one that hurt. Like so many memories, you know, and so many family dinners. My sister and I used to fight over who was going to get the dining room table because it's like our Norman Rockwell painting table. Like we'd fit 16 people around it. There's so much here. Again, it's just stuff. It's everything. Everything. But it's just stuff.
In the meantime, her family has been living out of 3 mobile homes, waiting for permitting and more funding to rebuild.
I just keep telling myself we're glamping. We're glamping. That's it. For potentially 18 months. That's no big deal.
Travis County officials say nearly 200 homes were damaged or destroyed in Sandy Creek, and much of the community's infrastructure was destroyed.
The definition of flash flood alley, which generally is a corridor that runs from North Texas down to the eastern hill country and then kind of wraps down to the north side of San Antonio up towards Kerrville. It's called flash flood alley because it's at the intersection of so many moisture sources.
It's an elevation change from the Gulf Coast, the coastal plain, up into the hill country. Anytime you have an increase in elevation, you have the air generally rising up, that can wring out more moisture. We have tropical systems, remnant tropical systems that can come in, or even just a general thunderstorm, maybe up against a stationary front that's hung up in the hill country. And these storms just develop along it and rain themselves out over the same area.
So time and time again, it just takes the right ingredients in the right place, or wrong place in this case at the wrong time, for there to be a significant flood. And because of the nature of where we live, the hill country, shallow soil, rivers that rage, flooding when it happens is oftentimes catastrophic.
Summer 2025 wasn't the first time the flooding was catastrophic in central Texas. July 17, 1987. Floods caused the Guadalupe River to surge, sweeping away buses trying to evacuate from a Christian camp near Comfort, killing 10 campers. Then on May 23rd and 24th, 2015, the Blanco River rose 45 feet in 1 hour on Memorial Day weekend in Wimberley, killing 13 people and destroying nearly 400 homes. A double whammy in October 2018 from the Llano River. People were swept away from an RV park near Junction on October 8th, killing 4. Then 8 days later, a wall of water from Kingsland, killing 2 and causing widespread damage. That takes us to 4th of July weekend 2025 in Kerr County and parts of Travis, Williamson, and Burnett counties. The holiday weekend saw one of the deadliest natural disasters in Texas history. A history where lessons could have been learned to save lives. Instead, little was done to protect against the next storm.
Wimberley, another overnight flood where some kids and parents were swept out of their homes.
It was Memorial Day weekend 2015.
Saturday was just a great day in the river and sunshine and blue skies and, you know, kids running up and down, you know, the banks and floating and doing everything you want to do at a river to enjoy it. We were invited up by some friends of ours that have the house on the river.
Jonathan McComb and his wife Laura and kids Andrew and Leighton joined Michelle and Randy Charbra and their son Will and Michelle's parents Ralph and Sue Carey at a vacation home on the Blanco River in Wimberley. It rained a little that afternoon, but Jonathan says there was no sirens and no inkling of trouble until late that night.
Kids go to bed and Randy and I stayed up a little bit and you could kind of hear this roar, this noise that we never have heard before. And then next thing we know, the water started coming out of the banks. And so we went inside, got everybody up and said, hey, we kind of need to get going or do something else. And at that point, the water was all the way around the house and it was just so quick you couldn't do anything. And the power goes out and we're inside the house and just hoping, and we were all sitting in the living room that, you know, it was just gonna kind of go up and go down, and then all of a sudden we knew we were in trouble.
A big cypress tree swept away by the flood hit the house and knocked it off its foundation, sending it into the Blanco River.
911, do you need police, fire, EMS?
We need emergency rescue. The river is flooded around the house. We're
Okay.
at the bottom of
What's the address?
Road.
It hit the Ranch Road 12 bridge, taking the roof off the house.
Sue Carey was the first one to go missing. Tried to hold on to her and got separated and then made it back to the pile of debris and still people sitting in chairs on the first floor going down the river. And then we hit a tree after that, which split the first floor in half. And then so it was myself, Laura, Andrew and Leighton, and Ralph Carey that was on the debris pile, what I call it. And I never saw Randy, Michelle, or Will after that. After that, hit some waves, and then Ralph Carey, he was not with us. Hit some more whitewater rapids, and I can remember coming to and wiping my eyes, you know, after the water, and kind of doing a head count again, and Andrew, our son, was missing, and so, you know, some serious panic starts setting in with Laura, and Leighton is still laying there, kind of in her, you know, heart nightgown, you know, and I can hear all of a sudden out of the background, you know, this call out that says, you know, "Daddy, help me," you know, "Daddy, help me."
By now, agencies all over Central Texas were responding, and witnesses had spotted the house being carried downstream.
It just, you know, sucks me underwater, and so I'm trying to struggle to get above the water, and but I didn't know which way was up or down or where I was going, and I ended up coming up real quick, and I grab a quick breath, and then it just, you know, the current just sucks me back under again, and so at that point I knew what was going on and what was happening to my family, and so I underwater just gave up and just went limp and quit trying at that moment. I mean, when I gave up all hope, and I hit my head real hard on the left side on something, rock I'm assuming, and just kind of had these bright white flashes, and I just told myself, I said, okay, God, if that's my awakening, then help me get out of here so we can tell your story.
He estimates he was traveling as fast as 40 miles per hour in the river, but grabbed onto trees and branches and finally made his way to the bank. Wearing just swim trunks and one river shoe, he scrambled up a cliff and knocked on the door of a vacation home. He suffered a broken sternum and ribs and a punctured lung. but he was alive. 10.5 years later, McComb has not forgotten. He is now married again to Monica, and together...
Did you give me a hug this morning?
They are parents to 5-year-old Scarlett, who is only beginning to learn about the Wimberley flood.
It went from not ever wanting to have a relationship with anybody again, and having children to, hey, we're blessed to do this, and God has blessed me to have a second chance on life.
But in central Texas, the threat of flash flooding is never far, and a little more than 10 years after Jonathan lost his first family to the Blanco, the water surged on the Guadalupe. Another holiday weekend, another catastrophic flood, but this time Jonathan was a member of Texas Search and Rescue, or TXR, and instead of survivor, Jonathan was searcher and rescuer.
When you're leading a team and you're on the river, you're there for a job. And I can step back from people and I can have my emotional, 30 seconds or 20 seconds, then I know that, let's go, let's keep going. I can recall when I was laying in the hospital, knowing there were so many people out there helping, the gratitude was unreal.
In the months and years that follow, Hays County installed cameras and flood gauges along the Blanco River, and the family helped push for sirens, but there was no statewide effort to install emergency alert systems until this year, after the deadly Kerr County flood.
What do you think about that? Is this right on time? Finally they did it, too little, too late?
It's tough to look in the rearview mirror, but I'm glad it's getting done, because as we all know, as I know, tragedy is going to strike again at some point, unfortunately. And the more prepared we can be, the better.
Woke up, saw brilliant lights flashing through the windows. Thought it was fireworks. Turns out it's the transformers going off, blowing up outside. Rain was just pouring down. And so I thought, well, I better look outside. I looked outside, and the water's up to my foundation of my house. And I've got a 5-foot tall foundation. It was terrifying. And by the time I got stuff together, got out to my car, I was going to back it out. I couldn't get it out. Would have floated.
We had way too many of the top people that are supposed to be managing the disaster out. Like, where were they?
While the floods were a natural disaster, many Texans have argued that the death toll and the destruction could have been far less or prevented altogether.
A chain of failures includes a lack of a warning system here along the river, and there's harsh criticism toward the leadership here in Kerr County, who some say were essentially asleep at the wheel.
We have a lot of folks who have titles, but when the time came to act, they did not do so in a timely fashion.
I talked to the sheriff multiple times, Sheriff. I talked to the mayor multiple times. Everyone was here that day working their ass off, and you were nowhere to be found.
You didn't wake up till 4:20. The judge is in Lake Travis, and the emergency manager is sick. There were little girls with water around their feet at 2 a.m. at Mystic, and were told stay in your cabin. And those little girls did what they were instructed.
Hi, I'm calling for Camp Mystic. The water is almost in our home. What
Are you in Hunt, Texas?
Yes, we are
Okay.
in Hunt, Texas. Camp
Okay.
Mystic.
Okay. What I will tell you right now is I'm going to transfer you to the sheriff's office so they can get your address. What I can tell you right now is we have everybody headed that direction, including water rescues, to try and get everybody across the city out and safe, okay?
There was a couple of times that the city officials voted against an alarm system. It's a surprise to me that Comfort has them, Bernie has them, but we don't.
Had there been early detection of the rising waters and sirens, we may have been able to leave in time to get to higher ground safely. I heard someone else say that they didn't think that that was necessary or would save lives in Hunt, and they are dead wrong.
Good morning. This is a really an important day for both, I think, for the whole county. We are still committed and think we can make the deadline of having sirens, at least in the hearing distance of all of the camps on the North Fork and South Fork and City of Ingram. by May 1st.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 5-0.
I know people from the outside are looking in and have their opinions, and I get that. Like, I have my opinions on things I'm looking at that I'm not close to. This one is very serious for me because, I mean, we lost a lot of people here too.
On the banks of the Guadalupe River in Kerrville, Republican State Representative Wes Verdell remembers the morning of July 4th clearly.
I knew I had to be here, and just something in my gut told me this is where I needed to be at that day.
Driving 100 miles to get here, the center of his district, he saw the horrors left behind by the rising water.
And watching families having to come ID their loved ones, that was one of the hardest things to watch. And we saw two parents up there twice. They were up there once to identify one of their daughters, and they had to come back again to identify another daughter.
On another side of the hill country was Republican State Representative Drew Darby, grappling with just how closely the tragedy at Camp Mystic struck.
My son had picked up his two daughters from Camp Mystic the week before. We had friends and neighbors there in San Angelo that were there camping. Some of our great friends and their great friends had children actually in camps there. Right then, I called the speaker and I said, I want to be a part of trying to find solutions to these issues facing our camps here in Texas.
It was after July 4th that a special legislative session called by Governor Greg Abbott took on a new life. Originally meant to tackle THC regulations, the special session became a chance to address what many saw as failures across Central Texas and the Hill Country. A select committee handpicked by Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and Speaker of the House Dustin Burrows to address flooding and disaster preparedness took shape in Austin.
Immediately you think about the hurt, the overwhelming sadness of loss.
Democratic State Representative Joe Moody of El Paso joined Verdell and Darby on the dais, listening to hours of testimony from state and local leaders.
We're better than that.
And from grieving parents.
Seal's life ended not because of an unavoidable act of nature, but because of preventable failures.
Those meetings really crystallized something that I'd already started thinking as we all were learning about what happened during the floods, which was let's get whatever barriers are in the way out of the way. These people need help.
I'd say the word that comes to mind more than any is complacency.
Darby describes what he saw as passivity from both camps and from Kerr County officials.
They knew the danger. They had the opportunity to fix the problem, but yet they chose not to.
Those hearings then pivoted into concrete legislation. Senate Bill 3, signed by the governor, requires areas identified by the Texas Water Development Board to install outdoor siren systems.
That bill and that construct is one that's going to prove to be very helpful.
It also sets up a grant program to help cities and counties cover the cost. Senate Bill 5 making $50 million available to help. Verdell isn't convinced sirens are enough.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to do a lot of good. I think that if it's 2 o'clock in the morning and it's pouring down rain like it was, you're probably not going to hear the sirens, and you're probably going to be asleep when that happens.
We showed Ingram City Council member Raymond Howard Verdell's comments on the sirens.
The sirens are just another tool. That's all they are. They're going to be useful for multiple reasons because we're going to be able to notify law enforcement, fire, rescue, and all that stuff to start going to the areas that we now know are in the flood plain.
A 2017 review by the National Institute of Standards and Technology found while warning sirens can be effective, they do come with limitations. For example, people may not hear or understand the warnings. But the biggest rift among legislators comes from new laws confronting camp safety, both from the House and Senate. Senate and House Bill 1 require camps to submit emergency management plans to the state, enhance training for staff members, and ban cabins in floodplains. On the day of the initial passage on the House floor, Darby, the author of House Bill 1, read off the names of 27 girls from Camp Mystic who never made it home.
Molly DeWitt, Mary Kate Jacoby.
Their parents watched from the gallery. But some felt certain provisions in the bill went too far, including Kerrville's own state rep.
The pig part of that was I think this bill was specifically drafted to target Camp Mystic to shut them down.
He criticized language in the bill requiring ladders and fiber optic internet access at camps as unnecessary financial obstacles. Verdell claims Darby knew the bills were flawed, but rushed them anyway.
And then Drew Darby, who was the author of the bill, who was carrying the bill basically for the lobby company. And he's been one of the people that have been pointing fingers quite a bit and trying to blame people.
I think the representative is off base when he says we were simply listening to one group over all the others, that we were trying to force Camp Mystic out of business. That is just not true. We're trying to protect campers, and if camp owners can't do what it takes to protect them, then maybe they shouldn't be in business. The idea that we're trying to answer to some sort of lobby group, to act against other camps, I want to protect other camps. I want to protect the process.
We pressed Verdell on his no votes on the camp safety bills. There are people who are going to look at this and say, well, if those bills were in place a year or two ago, they could have saved some lives. So what do you say to them?
It's a great question. I would have to say that I think that the rules are bad still to begin with, and we shouldn't implement a bunch of those. I don't like this bill. I mean, I wouldn't have implemented it 2 years ago. I don't think it would have saved lives, and I think it would have just put camps out of business. And what's often forgot about is how beneficial these camps are to a lot of people. For 100 years, people have been going to these camps, and if you go and look through those who have attended Camp Mystic or Camp La Junta and all that, they talk about how much it molded them as a good human being, right? Or to become a better human being and to be influential and help their community out. And then to say, well, now we're going to shut them down. I think that is a huge detriment to our society to shut something down for an unprecedented flood.
With less than 2 months to tackle disaster preparedness last summer, lawmakers are now looking ahead to January 2027, when the legislature will reconvene.
They're inviting children to come down and lay down at night, and I want to make sure they're protected.
What we need to do is spend this next year plus saying, okay, do our investigation, what can we change?
But between now and then is another season of Texas families sending their kids to camp.
Are kids safer heading to camp next summer?
I think so. I think there are things that we absolutely have to still tackle, and that's the long-term plan, like I talked to you about earlier. That's a commitment ongoing.
Verdell says he wants to see a world where camps can stay open and kids can stay safe. Today, he represents a county that's been marred by tragedy.
People are going to feel the pain of what happened here for a long time.
The camp should not reopen until they've adequately addressed the flooding risk in the area.
Some riverfront camps are expected to reopen in the summer of 2026. Of course, they must have the updated safety and warning systems. But for many camp parents, the idea is deeply unsettling.
Supporters of summer camps say they're important for kids and their development, but they also want stronger assurances and proof that safety comes before any tradition or any possible timelines.
Camp Mystic is reopening its Cypress Lake location where no one was killed, but the main campus, where 27 campers and counselors, as well as a camp owner, died, well, it remains closed and we were not allowed on the property. Recently, we were allowed to visit the Cypress Lake camp, where they've since installed new warning sirens to quickly detect major flooding.
We are grieving. We're devastated about what has happened. We're crushed. And we're just praying for all those involved.
Britt Eastland, whose family has owned Camp Mystic for decades, agreed to talk about the new siren system. But as legislation and lawsuits mounted, the family has had their attorney answer all questions about the July 4th tragedy. He says the public has been swept up by a current of misinformation and misplaced anger. The Eastland family maintains camp management and staff followed established procedures and did everything they could to save lives. At the same time, they support laws passed in the wake of the disaster to make camps safer.
There were some people that were suggesting that maybe they got a warning and just sat around for 3 hours. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Michael Watts made his name suing large organizations for negligence, but the Austin attorney, who has a ranch a few miles from Camp Mystic, is defending the Eastland family for free.
It is abundantly clear to me, and should be to everyone around, that Camp Mystic was completely unprepared for the flooding that cost my daughter her life.
This wasn't an act of God. This was an act of pure complacency.
Some have said that the camp should have known the magnitude of the situation that was impending because there'd been past floods.
We had flood levels that were never before seen. I know where the 1932 flood reached. I know where the 1978 flood reached, the 1987 flood reached. It wasn't even close. What happened on July the 4th of 2025 was an unprecedented 1,000-year flood in this area.
Watts says the cell phone warnings from the National Weather Service are sent out so often, many locals ignore them. And he says they don't differentiate between a moderate flood risk and a catastrophic downpour.
So we got the it's raining warning at 1:14 in the morning. The more severe emergency stuff didn't come until after the event was already over.
Grieving parents have questioned why girls and counselors were instructed to shelter in place and weren't evacuated to higher ground faster.
They did exactly what they were told to do that morning: stay in their cabins. Our daughters paid the ultimate price for their obedience to a plan that was destined to fail.
Watts claims ever since 10 campers were killed in 1987 when their bus was swept away by floodwaters while trying to evacuate, FEMA and other government agencies have advised people to shelter in place.
Get their birthday, names, addresses.
You can go onto all their websites. They've got a do not walk in this stuff, do not drive in this stuff, shelter in place. And that was the policy at Camp Mystic, and it was the appropriate policy.
Did the staff at Camp Mystic get caught off guard? Should they have moved some of those kids to higher ground earlier?
So they were up, they were on the phone, they were researching.
When water started coming into the cabins, Watts says Camp Director Dick Eastland, his son Edward, and their night watchman used 3 trucks to evacuate cabins closest to the river. But floodwaters swirled into 2 cabins farther back from the river that housed younger girls who were swept out.
Those girls died with Dick Eastland giving his own life trying to save them, and his son Edward risking his own life, and ended up in a tree 600 yards down with 3 girls attached to him that he saved their lives. These guys were heroes. They did the dead level best that they could, and they saved hundreds of girls, and they're just crushed. They're just crushed that they didn't save them all.
Camp Mystic was also criticized for filing paperwork to have its cabins removed from FEMA's floodplain map 12 years before the disaster. That can reduce a camp's insurance costs. But Watts says all of Camp Mystic's cabins were at a high enough elevation that they never should have been listed as being in the floodplain. And all they did was provide FEMA evidence to correct the mistake.
None of those places where the girls were staying was in a floodplain. Full stop. It's just not true.
Camp Mystic's owners say the only thing that might have made a difference on July 4th was a siren warning system. Kerr County talked about installing some as far back as 2016, but funding was never approved. Britt Eastland and the directors of other camps along the Guadalupe are now installing these high-tech warning towers that detect heavy flooding and sound an alarm while lighting up the surrounding area. The system was paid for by a group of private donors and will complement any siren system state and local officials install.
Do you think a system like this might have saved your dad's life and the lives of the others?
I do. My dad was obsessed with monitoring the weather all his years at camp. I believe we owe it to our parents that entrust us with their children to come to camp now that we know what this river can do.
You got a blue ribbon and arts and crafts too. Isn't that just so exciting? And we can go through all this.
For one San Antonio anchor, the Camp Mystic tragedy wasn't just news. Her connection runs far beyond the stories.
When did you start coming to Camp Mystic?
I started going in 1997. A lot of people start young, you know, still in elementary school. I was a little bit older.
Was your mom a Camp Mystic girl?
No, I had a friend in middle school that I'd met that went, and I think like had a sleepover or something, and she just kind of showed me her pictures, you know, loved it so much, and that's just kind of how I started going. Like my mom called Dick to see if there was availability, and sure enough there was, and so then I switched terms for my last 2 years.
You're always meeting new people, learning new things. Then you also learn like really basic good life skills, like how to change a tire. Those are the types of things you would also learn at Camp Mystic. And then there's an ongoing competition. A lot of summer camps divide campers between tribes. And so there are different sporting events where you're playing each other for different points that you collect throughout the month or 2 weeks, however it is that you go, however long you go. And yeah, I mean, it's just, you're outside for a solid month. Like, who is able to do that anymore?
I feel like a lot of Camp Mystic is just like kind of like a quintessential camp environment, whether like when it comes to the activities, you do horseback riding, you do swimming and arts and crafts and such. And I feel like the trunk is just kind of a quintessential camp thing that you bring with all of your stuff. So we're going to go get Wynn. I know my son last night was like, how long have you known Aunt Wynn? And I was doing the math, and so it's been at least 25 years now.
Are you driving? Hi, Wynn.
We met when we were campers. We were in the same cabin together.
I don't know what I'm doing.
We've just always stayed friends, and like, you know, it's just one of those lifelong friends. I met her at camp versus school or whatever it is.
Hi. Sorry, I shouldn't look at that. Sorry. It's okay.
It's just a place where you can be you in the truest way without judgment.
Have you gone back?
No, the farthest I've gone is just like the old Ingram circle or the loop there. So Wynn lives in Kerrville. Her house was flooded, her daughter was at camp, so a lot's going on.
I think right now it's like in a movie when there's like an explosion or something, and everybody wakes up and they have tinnitus. Your ears are ringing because you're dazed. I feel like that's the phase that a lot of us are still like just now in, because it's been adrenaline. So over here, you could not see any of this, all trees.
And here's Lahana, where some of the girls from Mystic were found when they were swept away. Found alive. Yes.
So there's Bug House. That is the lowest cabin to the water. And I have to just note that Dick and Tweety Eastland's granddaughter Cece was in that cabin during the flood.
See, there's Foundation. That was a house. And the gatekeeper was there, and she was washed away, and she survived. She clung onto a tree for hours.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
It's like a little hidden oasis. I feel like that, I don't know, once they come, they love it and they don't want to leave.
There's always a question of what was the year of the Great Flood. And so we know 1930, and that at that point,
it was World War II.
The water got to the back steps of Harrison Hall, which is that big building there.
So you can see where the stairs are.
So the back steps are there. Is it like 10 o'clock is lights out, and then?
9:30, and then 10 is taps, typically, I think.
So, you know, like, so throughout the day, like girls sign up for different classes, have like maybe 5 classes throughout the day, just like you would at school almost. You have a set schedule for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then different one Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. and they would have dinner and then, you know, go back to their cabin to get ready for whatever the night activity would be. At first, it's just, you know, the lights have to be turned off, but they can still be kind of moving about, and maybe there would be like a little quick nighttime devotional, and everyone would be in bed. And Dick was always on top of the weather. Because obviously it's a river. A flooding risk comes with every single river, and so he was always hyper cautious.
It is 7 a.m. on this Monday morning. It has been a very long weekend, and we remain committed to our Hill Country region.
Oh my God.
It was one of those things where, you know, I go into work and we're just anchoring breaking news for hours and hours and hours, and then continue to the next day, and you're in the point of the news cycle where people are still missing, and, you know, parents have shared pictures of their daughters, and so we're kind of just going through who people are still searching for at this point, which included Dick. And it was a strange thing because I knew in my heart that he had gone, because he absolutely would die trying to save them. He wouldn't give up. He had so much passion, and he is just, he was such a great person. And you know, what happened here is awful, and it's there are no words to take the pain away. But he did die trying. I know that doesn't make anything better, but I do think it's important to remember.
It's hard, I guess my perspective's unique. A lot of the girls that passed in the Heavens 27, I either went to high school with their dad, or I went to camp with their mom, or I grew up with them. They were like family. I mean, we took vacations with some, you know, or they were our Camp Mystic friends. And when I knew I was pregnant with my daughter Lucy, some of them, they were like, oh my gosh, they're gonna probably be in the same cabin. And it was just exciting having a new generation. And even some of the grandmothers of those girls went to camp when my mom went to camp, you know? I can't imagine a world without Camp Mystic, but yeah, that's all too soon. There's still so much that needs to be sorted out and figured out, and but again, but being here from this community again, I just feel I'm still dazed and confused, and I think about friends that their whole family, you know, they had nothing to do with Camp Mystic and people like that, and I feel like it's hard because everybody's focusing in on this specifically, and there's still 100+ people that perished that have nothing to do with the camp. This is where I learned who I am, and I learned the life skills I need, and I feel like this is what's prepared me for life. More than my college education, but for every job, everything, I feel like my skills and what shaped me as the woman I am is this place. And brought me lifelong sisters.
Good night, Camp Mystic. We love you.
I went up to the Sandy Creek area to at least see it with my own eyes. And you can't imagine the way the landscape changed with that kind of a flood.
I think there was just such a great need for help that I don't imagine anybody would have been able to see what I saw and stand by and do nothing.
Just complete strangers just showed up and just set up camp, and they're still here.
This is the Sandy Creek Bridge. It's one of the only ways that people in this community can get across the water by car. That morning, rushing floodwaters came to the top of this bridge and destroyed it, leaving many people in this community trapped. The only way to get through the area for days was by foot, and that's when countless volunteers came to their rescue.
Like, there are still people to this day that are here that aren't even from this community that are actively putting in the work to help us rebuild.
So we started organizing just whatever we could, which was delivering water to people, helping volunteers get gloves and masks and equipment and things that they needed to start with cleanup, to start helping people. I don't know that those neighbors would have gotten anything without the volunteer effort.
In the aftermath of the flood, Janae Lamberton rallied over 1,000 volunteers.
People that have been through this together are just bonded for life. You know, we're friends for life. And we know so many more of our neighbors now than we ever knew before. And it's really been a lot of growth for the community.
It made Sandy Creek a community, is what it did. We all know each other now. We're all like helping hands, you know. It's become a much more like intimate, close-knit community. And I think what's so beautiful about it is not that we all get to know each other now, but it's brought all these people from so many different walks of life, different political backgrounds, different, you know, like religions, different race. It just doesn't matter. Like, my faith in humanity is at an all-time high, which is a gift I did not know I needed.
Before the flood, what did Sandy Creek mean to you?
Before the flood, Sandy Creek was home, and it still is. It's just different now. It was a safe place.
What does Sandy Creek mean to you after the flood?
Sandy Creek after the flood is a community. It is a community now. Never hath it been a community before, but it is. And we're stronger together. There's real power in community. I mean, we're getting stuff done. Still a lot more work to do.
To double down on what I said last night, we will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event. We're not going to stop today or tomorrow. We will stop when the job is completed. We know that we are looking for Texans and Americans, and we put them as our top priority. We will find every one of them.
What they're going to be going through is like taking a measured out rope and be conducting like a full 360 sweep at the bottom as they are going through and pushing along. Whenever they notice something on the water, they are going to mark it. My name is John Taylor. I'm a prior recon Marine, former paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division from 1505th PIR. I'm out here as one of the co-lead of operations here for Heroes for Humanity and assisting with search and recovery operations. We're out here with our own drone team. We got dog teams coming in on our own. We have special operations medical personnel.
This is an obvious disaster zone.
We got called that morning, but we, takes time to mobilize and get things together. This just hit different. Talking to the families, and it's a bittersweet moment.
And the water started to rise very rapidly.
It's hard to express or just listen to them. That's really all we can do is listen and be supportive and say, I'm glad we found your loved one.
Were you able to bring some closure to families?
Yes, our whole team did.
The diving was hard because everything that was taken up, houses and RVs and everything was mangled. That was all under the water. Septic tanks, anything you can think of in a barn or chemicals. You had maybe about 3 to 5 inches visibility if you were lucky.
Now, if you look way up there in the top of that cypress tree, you see trash. That's how high the river got.
There were several people, victims, that were found either on my property or within a few hundred feet of my property. FEMA came into that ranch, and if it was bigger than an inch, they picked it up. And they groomed that place on the lower slope, said, we would like to lease your ranch. because we want to use it as a substation, a staging station.
As lawsuits and improved emergency preparedness plans work their way through legal and legislative processes, the gruesome work to find 2 people missing from the deadly July 4th Hill Country floods continues.
They're still looking. They don't want to quit until either they find them or the families say, you know, thank you for doing what you could do. They are literally taking one bucket at a time and shaking it out, looking for bones or whatever they can find.
Seal remains somewhere in the devastation of the Guadalupe River. We wait, trapped in agony, until she is brought home.
Obviously, the river has scarring. It's not going to look the same for a long time, but families are rebuilding their homes. People are moving back in, getting back to the new normal, and it just looks just so much better that the trash is gone.
What do you think that says about your community?
I'm sorry. I think it's going to say that this community is made up of people for what this great nation was built on.
The flooding damage throughout Texas was widespread, and in Burnett County, a man known as a humble hero is still missing. Marble Falls Volunteer Fire Department Chief Michael Phillips. On a quiet stretch of Cow Creek, the water moves slowly now, gentle and forgiving. But for one Texas family, this peaceful place will always hold the memory of a storm that took their hero away.
I get mad when I think about it, because I kind of just, this is selfish of me, but I'm just like, why did you leave me? And I try not to think like that, because I know he didn't leave me, but I just still can't believe that it's real.
A cross under a giant oak tree is now a symbol of the reality of this place and of that night.
This is an area that they set up as a memorial for my dad.
For Megan Phillips, this place carries both pain and peace.
I mean, I feel it. I feel at peace with him out here, and I feel like if he wanted to be found, he would.
Her father, Marble Falls Volunteer Fire Chief Michael Phillips, disappeared here while responding to an emergency call during the historic flooding on 4th of July weekend. His Jeep was found downstream. He never was.
So I will say, at the very beginning, they were finding like his BDU pants, his shirt that he was wearing, his helmet. He had some other fire gear in the truck. I mean, even like I said, finding his glasses, his wallet, his watch, everything. I was just like, where is he?
Megan joined the search.
I searched over by Cow Creek. They wanted to look around the bridge there and a little bit further down.
Giant trees were bent like twigs, roads ripped from the ground and deposited along the banks. Debris piles and trees covered the area where Chief Phillips disappeared.
I mean, it was thick. I mean, you could not see through these trees. And I thought, well, let me just shake these trees. I'm gonna hear something or see something. And he's here, and he's hurt, but he's coming back.
But Megan felt like he had to be close.
Because I was just thinking, like, all these things that we found, pants, boots, shirt, glasses, watch, wallet, everything.
She will never forget when she saw her dad's Jeep buried on its side almost completely. covered up.
I did do a flyover and saw it. And like I said, I mean, I could only see 3 or 4 feet. And I knew what I was looking for. So I saw, it was a white Jeep and had a red line. And so I knew that it was there. Just, I guess, the amount of force and everything, like it was buried that deep, that quickly, really. I mean,
Chief Phillips knew this area better than anyone, but what he didn't know was how big that wall of water was that swept him away as his Jeep came over a hill. A sheriff's deputy told Megan Chief Phillips had no idea what hit him.
So he's like, yeah, I saw him come over the hill, and then it was just rushed away.
No one saw it coming. The rain was slow but steady. The big fireworks show that night was shut down, and there were some reports of flooding, but nothing out of the ordinary yet.
It was raining, and so we were going to go see the fireworks, but they were canceled. So we went to Dairy Queen, got some ice cream, went home, and didn't really think much, but we knew, there's lots of rain, and it had been raining for, I think, almost 24 hours at that point. And we had heard on the news,
If this happens, we have a storm system essentially right on top of us with all this tropical fuel in place.
But didn't think much about it. I mean, in this area, there's water.
The rain was slowly getting worse.
And it was just kind of there was no like, okay, good night, love you. I just went and got my kids ready for bed and everything. And then I heard his Jeep start.
Hearing that Jeep start in the early morning hours was not an unusual sound for Megan.
Yes. Heard his Jeep start, which I've heard we usually have a fire truck out at our house, so that's nothing normal. That's nothing new to me. And I was like, okay, he's going out on a call, figured he would.
But looking back, there was one thing that was a little out of the ordinary.
I'm like, okay. And she said he was sitting at the dining room table just tapping his foot. She's like, what's wrong? And he's like, someone's gonna need something. This is not gonna be good. There's gonna be somebody who needs something. And I guess because he was nervous was odd, because he's never nervous.
Megan refused to believe that was the last time she was going to see her dad alive. Then Chief Phillips' co-workers showed up at the house.
And they were like, oh, well, I just want to let you know, we can't find him. I was like, well, go and look for him. Like, what are you talking about? And kind of the more they talked, I was like, okay, this is a little bit more than what I think it is.
As we talked at the fire station near Chief Phillips' turnout gear that is still on the rack ready to go, Megan says the gravity of the situation really hit home when she talked with her mom.
But then we went back in the house, and my mom, she just sat in a chair in the living room, and she was keeping it together because the kids were there. And I was like, it's fine. Like, I promise you, like, he's out there. He's probably in a tree. And she's like, don't promise me things that you can't, promise. And I remember when the kids left, her going in her room and just hearing her cry. Because my mom doesn't cry. She's a very strong woman. But I think she knew. And just hearing her cry like that, it just killed me. Because there's nothing I could do for her.
But even after days of searching, she started dreaming of her dad and thought surely Super Pops would just walk through the door one day.
We call him Super Pops. So, he can't get hurt. He's a superhero. And so I thought everything was going to be fine. And it really wasn't until later on in the week that it was just surreal. And even now, when I think about it, I'm like, he's there.
There are a lot of heavy hearts, and even more heavy hearts tonight in Marble Falls. We're following breaking news that the search was just suspended for missing Marble Falls Volunteer Fire Chief Michael Phillips.
And I had dreams, and he would just pop up and come into the house and be like, hey, what are y'all doing? Like, what is all this? What are y'all having all this people for? So it's just surreal.
That knock on the door never came. And for Megan and a community that loved Chief Phillips, this is where his story ended. But it's also where his legacy lives. Megan says she wants her dad to be remembered as a humble hero, never forgetting what Chief Phillips would always say.
I'm there on the day of these people's worst day, and I just want to be able to help them because this is the worst day that they're having, and there's something I can do to help them.
What would you like to say to your dad?
I guess a part of me would say, like I said, I'm mad. You know, I feel like he left me. But I'm very proud of him. Like I said, he doesn't want the fanfare. He wants to be able to help whoever he can help and then be in the shadows. But you know, kind of through this whole thing, as far as even his memorial and everything, I was like, I want everything. I want the flag, I want the fanfare, I want everything. I want people to know that this was his life. This was his heart. This is everything.
This afternoon, first responders from across Texas drove in on Highway 281 straight into Marble Falls, where they gathered to honor a man they call a humble hero.
I mean, there's some volunteers or other people who's like, yeah, this is my job. But for him, this wasn't a job. This was a calling, and this was it was life. I know he had lots of big dreams, big ideas for this department, and I hope that they continue to grow and keep going with what he wanted.
Inside the Marble Falls Volunteer Fire Station, his memory fills this place. A reminder of the man who built this department from the ground up. For Megan, remembering him means balancing heartbreak and pride, between the pain of losing her father and the peace of knowing he was doing what he loved.
He wouldn't do it any differently. I think me and my mom, like, that's a comfort that we have, is that we know that he was doing what he loved, and he wouldn't do it any differently. If someone called and needed help, that's what he was gonna do. I'm at peace that he's here. I like just sitting down there and listening to the water, and that gives me comfort. I'm good as far as he's out here. This is where he's at peace here.
You know, for many Texans, the July 4th weekend will never be the same. A time once marked by gatherings, celebrations, even fireworks, sadly now tied to floodwaters, lots of damage, and unfortunately grief that a lot of families will have to carry forever.
Flooding will always be a part of Texas, but how we prepare, how we warn, and how we respond will determine the next level of heartbreak, because there will be a next time. And when the waters rise, and they will again, will Texas be ready?
It was the most beautiful place on earth for me. When my husband and I were standing right there watching the destruction, that second we decided that never again we were gonna let anybody sleep over. So, no more. So everything that we do is gonna be just for daytime enjoyment.
Every day of a dry forecast is the countdown to the next big flood. You don't know how long that countdown's going to be. I think it It's a great reminder for all of us. I mean, what else do you do in the face of tragedy like this? You do better the next time. Can't go back, can't save those kids, can't redo that forecast. But you can learn for the next one. Make sure no lives are lost, let alone hundreds, dozens.